this was an awesome weekend of football. Give the NFL credit. Applause for the NFL. No stink. You're stink free. No Monday Night Football. We're down to only 3 games left. We've previewed the conference championship a little bit, but let's just do a quick hot read before we get you out of here. Bengals Chiefs AFC Championship is our first one Sunday. Chiefs are -7, maybe 7.5. They open at 6.5, and the money's coming in on Kansas City. The total opened at 51.5 and quickly went up to 53.5. The money's pretty clear right now. Everyone believes in the Chiefs just going in and taking care of business in Arrowhead. Sounds like you're leaning toward the Bengals here.
Okay, first things first, I like the over 53.5. I think this line should be around 55. When you look at the first matchup between these two teams, Joe Burrow's 30 of 39, 46 yards, 4 touchdowns. Patrick Mahomes, that first half, they were absolutely dominant. 28 points in the first half and just 3 in the second half. I can assure you, whatever happens, win or lose, the Chiefs are not scoring 3 points in the second half of this game. So I really think you're going to see a shootout. Both teams, just their offenses were just rolling. And I think one of the things you just saw in this game is that the Chiefs had some injuries. Obviously, you lose the Honey Badger in this one. They also, Ward actually got banged up. So, these two teams, they put up 900 yards, 65 points. Both teams had over 7 yards per pass. These teams are going to put up some points. But I think this line is getting up there to the point. I think we were at 6.5. We're now at 7.5. I think you got to be looking at Bengals or pass. I just think this is too many points. The Bengals, they've proven that they could score back-to-back with the Chiefs, and the Chiefs haven't really proven that they can really stop this team. So I'm leaning Bengals in the over.
Yeah, I'm leaning the same way. That's the early pick that I turned in here. And I think you're right. The key number, the switch from one side of the key number to the other side, I was kind of trying to decide, well, this seems like a lot of points. The Bengals just beat them literally this month. It was in January that the Bengals beat them. It was in Cincinnati. And I remember going back to that game. Early in that game, it just felt like these were in different weight classes. The Chiefs just were running them off the field, scoring anytime they wanted, right down the field. And that for me was confirmation bias because I already felt like the Bengals were overrated. And I remember early in that game being like, see, I knew it. The Bengals are frauds. The Chiefs are awesome. The Bengals had no shot. I'm like writing in all my notes, piling on the Bengals. And then for the second half, suddenly the Bengals are piling up everything. Chiefs can't score. Jamar Chase was incredible in that game. He had 3 touchdowns, 266 yards. To me, that's the thing that sticks with me here is that the Chiefs could not cover these receivers. Chase and T. Higgins had man coverage, and Joe Burrow looked at his guys and said, you can't cover me. If you're putting man on my guy, I'm just throwing it up and letting my guy win the ball. And Chase and Higgins did it time after time after time in that game. So I agree. Matthew is a huge loss for the Chiefs if he's out. Concussion protocol and the history he's had. I'm not feeling optimistic that he'll play. So I think the Bengals are going to score. You're right. I think that probably leans toward the over there. And I think the back door will be open. Either the Bengals score enough to make this a game. They have 11 one-score games already this year. And at 7.5, a one-score game does the trick. Or maybe they just find the back door. You know, they're going to keep passing. Joe Burrow, we've seen him put up some huge yardage games. So, yeah, I think the Chiefs are going to win, but I think the Bengals can cover this line.
Yeah, I think so too. And, maybe it might be a good teaser candidate to possibly take the Chiefs down to like -1 or a pick 'em. Maybe tease that with our next game.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking, oh man, I might be doing a little Chiefs 49ers teaser here. So somehow I think we're about to be 12 games into the playoffs. And I don't know if we've yet actually really disagreed on one of our games, which is pretty crazy. But 49ers at the Rams, NFC Championship game. The Rams are 3.5-point favorites, total at 46.5. The Niners money line, we got to point out because we've been playing them the last 2 weeks, plus 155 on the money line. The Niners have been my team. I've been riding for 3 weeks in a row. The Niners have gone as underdogs and knocked off the Rams in week 18, Cowboys in the playoffs, Packers in the playoffs. Are the Niners going to keep it rolling and get another one here?
Yeah, I think they keep it rolling here. Look, a lot's going to be made of this, but Kyle Shanahan is an underdog. We spoke about it before. He's 25-17 against the spread, but he's absolutely dominated Sean McVay in this era. He's 7-3 against the spread, and he's actually won 6 straight. Actually, no, he's 7-3 straight up against Sean McVay, and he's won the last 6 matchups, with the last 4 coming in a row as an underdog. So I think that's pretty huge for this team to know that they can go into Los Angeles and be able to beat this team. And Los Angeles doesn't really have a strong home field advantage anyway. So I think you're going to see a lot of people from the Bay Area coming down. But the thing that stands out for me as far as this matchup, when you get rid of the trends, is that the San Francisco 49ers, they've been able to dominate on both sides of the ball in terms of the offensive line. In the first matchup that they won earlier this year, 31-10, they had 156 rushing yards. And the second one, it's just the entire second half, they ran the ball down their throat, and it's just like they dominated the time of possession. They had 135 rushing yards, and early on this season, Debo wasn't a thing. Elijah Mitchell wasn't a thing, and they proved that they can make it a thing at this point. And I just think the Rams, they can't run the ball. It's going to be tough. To me, the Rams don't impress me. So I just think 3.5 points is too much, and I think this is closer to a pick.
Yeah, you read off my notes, basically. That's everything that I think about that game. Yeah, the home field advantage that's being factored to the line here should not be a factor. Week 18, that was a home game for the Niners. There were loud Niners fans cheering for their comeback as the Rams at home try to play for a division clincher. That's embarrassing. There's going to be Niners fans here. It's not going to be a home field advantage. I think that the metrics paint these teams as relative equals. So if there's not a real home field advantage and relative equals, I agree. It should be around a coin flip at that point. You said Shanahan 7-3. In those games, the 49ers have been underdogs 8 out of the 10 games, and he's still 7-3 in these games. So I kind of teased this before, but sometimes you just have the right coaching matchup. And the way that the Shanahan running system goes, that McVay and his defense just haven't been able to stop that. This year in 8 quarters, basically the Niners have dominated for 7 of the 8 quarters. Week 18, the Rams had a huge first quarter and then laid an egg the entire rest of the game. The Niners actually almost doubled up the Rams in yardage. They had 449 yards to 265 in that game, and most of the 265 came that first quarter, and no Trent Williams in that game. So that game wasn't as close as it looked. It was 31-10 Niners favor in the previous matchup. Like you said, 6 wins in a row. I agree with the lines too. The Rams offensive line, I think it struggled a little bit. We've seen Armstead and Bosa, how good they've been. And we saw Stafford got sacked 7 times in those 2 games this year. On the other end, as good as the Rams pressure was today against the Buccaneers, the Niners offensive line is not the Bucs offensive line. Trent Williams is not Donovan Smith. I promise you that much. And Trent Williams ain't going to be in motion this game because he's going to be eliminating Von Miller from the game for most of the time instead. So I'm with you. I'm fully in line. The only thing for me is that the injuries do worry me a little bit. I want to wait it out, and I got burned a little by the Bucs this week, being all in, fading the Rams, and then having to wait out the Bucs injuries, having to buy out a little bit. So, I mean, look, Garoppolo's injured, playing through. Kittle got hurt late. Debo got hurt late. Trent Williams is playing through injuries. Bosa was a question mark, played through. Fred Warner was a question mark. That's basically the who's who of all the players that matter on this team. And Jimmy Garoppolo. Haha. So I want to see who's actually playing for this team, but I'm definitely on the Niners. I will be betting the Niners. I'll be playing the Niners money line. I've got all the futures, but I don't even think I can hedge out of it because I just think this is the right matchup for San Fran here.
And in the one advantage that they have the same advantage that the Bengals have. They have an extra day. Like they played on Saturday, the Rams played on Sunday. So with their injuries, they have an extra day to rest. I think it's pretty big. And one thing I will say is that it's so interesting. The 2010 Bears, they actually let the Packers into the playoffs in week 17. And then Green Bay went into Chicago, won the NFC title game, and actually won the Super Bowl. If you look at another scenario, which is very similar to this, in 2009, the Colts blew a second half lead because they brought Curtis Painter into the game. I'm pretty sure about this. You know about this. The Colts, they basically gave up their chance of going undefeated that season by bringing Curtis Painter in. It allowed Rex Ryan and the Jets to get into the playoffs as a wild card. Jets pulled off 2 straight upsets and then faced Indianapolis in the AFC Championship game. Colts ended up winning that game and then losing the Super Bowl. So those are the 2 scenarios where you saw that things are very similar to the 49ers that beat the Rams in week 18.
Yeah, I with definitely some history on our side here. My pick is up on this one as well. I'm definitely on the Niners. I got some trends in there that you can check out. Obviously, we'll do more on this game, much more depth on our Friday episode. But there's a lot of things to like about the Niners here. It feels like a game where the public is probably going to back the Rams. We saw how good they looked against Tom Brady and the Bucks, and it feels like we're going to overrate how awesome that was early, and that we're going to look at the Niners and be like, what a terrible team. The Packers blew it. The Niners were awful. The Niners defense was really impressive in that game. Jimmy Garoppolo was awful, but Jimmy Garoppolo was playing in snow. Garoppolo is playing injured. He has those games, but he doesn't always have them 2 games in a row. And he's been pretty good against the Rams, and we're not playing one-on-one. Jimmy Garoppolo is playing with a line, with a run game, with good weapons, with a system, and honestly, with a lot of confidence, I think, against this Rams team. He knows he's been the quarterback for 6 of those wins, so he knows how to beat this team.
I mean, and as bad as we talk about Jimmy Garoppolo, he led the game-winning drive last week. That's something that Aaron Rodgers couldn't do. Aaron Rodgers went 3 and out. Jimmy Garoppolo drove the ball down the field, and I know Debo got the draw play to pick up 9 yards to move it from the Green Bay 38 to about the 29, 28 or so, but Jimmy Garoppolo still got it done when it matters, and he's done this all season. So
he did, and he hit Kittle up the middle on the seam a couple of key plays, and guess who else he got it done against? The Rams in Week 18 with the season on the line, and he drove them all the way down the field for the win in Los Angeles. So I think the Niners go to LA, get the win, and then set up shop and stay in LA so Rams fans can watch them play the Super Bowl on their home field there too. So we'll talk more about that one on Friday. We'll get back to the Chiefs Bengals. That will wrap it up today at a marathon Action Network podcast, talking about an awesome weekend of football. Don't forget to rate and review the podcast on Apple and Spotify. Same schedule as always this week. Stuckey and Raybon are back Wednesday with their 6-pack betting guide. We're back Friday. We'll talk both games, get you ready for Championship Sunday. For Raheem Palmer, I'm Brandon Anderson, and this has been the Action Network podcast. We are on to the Final Four.